Hey, Rob here, and I'm ready to do another video. I want to keep it simple. It's kind of, usually it's complicated, the teachings on this issue, but I'm going to keep it simple. And that is the kingdoms in Daniel chapter 2 and chapter 7. There's a statue vision of 4 kingdoms: Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Media, Persia is one kingdom, by the way. And then there's the Daniel chapter 7 animal visions: the lion, the bear, the leopard, and the diverse kingdom. That final kingdom, which had the mouth of a lion, the feet of a bear, and was like a leopard, and it devoured the whole earth. And it says in Daniel that's the kingdom that was in effect, reigning the whole earth, when Jesus returns. So, my point is this, that I learned, is the first set of kingdoms, Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome, lead to and point to Jesus' first coming, being born through Mary. Okay, and then the second set of kingdoms, which are not the same as most of the so-called scholars teach, the next 4 kingdoms are the leading up and pointing to his return, his second coming, to come and take on his 1,000-year reign. There's no doubt on what the kingdoms are in the first statue vision, but the second set, the animal kingdoms, lion, bear, leopard, and global kingdom, as far as I'm able to discern, and it's just going by facts, historical fact, and looking at the kingdoms that have had the most dominance lately. And that would lead us to understand that the lion is England, or the British Empire. You know, since the about 700 years ago or so, England took on its power and started conquered India and all these other nations, and colonized the States and South America, little bits and pieces, the Caribbean. So they were aggressive in their conquest of many parts of the world, and they had the biggest military and most dominance for so long. And then when the eagle's wings were plucked, of course the eagle being the U.S., we got our independence from them as a nation, the U.S., right? USA, I should say, the colonies. At that point, they kind of were less aggressive on conquest. And the scripture says that the lion, in Daniel chapter 7, the lion, the eagle's wings were plucked from it, and it was made to stand on its feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So a man's heart was given to it. And that was after the eagle's wings were plucked, which kind of matches history, you know. England's a lot more mild in their dealings with the military they have with other countries since then. So then you go to the bear kingdom, and Russia's really standing out because their national animal is a bear. The ruling party that is in power there is a bear. I mean, that's their animal. Dmitry Medvedev, who was the last president before this one, and he still has a lot of clout in the government there. His family name means bear. Let's see. It talked about the bear having 3 ribs in its mouth, and it was standing up on one side. The standing up on one side, of course, is the leftist socialism that made it powerful. I shouldn't say that made it powerful, but that's the form of government that it claimed and exercised or whatever. And then with the ribs in its mouth, there's 3 little countries on the edge of Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. And those three countries were absorbed into the Soviet Union without much choice. You know, they had, if they would have resisted, they'd have been crushed. They were just little tiny countries, had to go along with their surroundings, the bear's mouth and teeth around them, you know, at the time, right? And then if you look at the final little statement in the bear description in Daniel 7, it talks about, it said, "Rise, devour much flesh." And, you know, Stalin and his regime killed, I think it was 15 million of their own countrymen who they didn't think would go along with them, or didn't want to take a chance on having them around, I guess. So it was a massive slaughter, and it matches that very, very well. Then you go to the leopard kingdom. Before I go on, though, I want to mention that there's probably a spiritual parallel here. There's the four kingdoms in the statue vision in Daniel 2, and the four kingdoms in chapter 7. It seems that the first, second, third, and fourth kingdoms have a similar spirit behind them. Very likely that the same principality spirit of their kingdoms are the same, just replaying in history. Babylon and England seem to share the same. Oh, another thing about England, their crest has a bunch of lions on it, and the lion is their animal. They call it their personification, they say, which kind of personification could be translated as spirit, which is interesting. So they claim it straight up. Then the bear, and the Media-Persia arms of silver on the statue. Media and Persia were united as a kingdom, and you can see that the Soviet Union was mostly, the heart of it was Russia and Georgia coming together to form the Soviet Union, and they had their little add-ons later, but two kingdoms there are coming together in a way. That rings bells together. And then we go to the Alexander the Great Grecian Empire of the bronze thighs, right? Or the belly, I'm sorry. Belly and thighs, right? Of bronze or brass. Then, let's see. Alexander the Great was a fast and furious conqueror when you compare him to the military advancements up to his time. And same with Hitler, the Nazis, which I believe are the leopard in the modern set of kingdoms leading to Jesus' second coming. They were fast and furious and got conquered real hard, right? Okay, and then with the leopard Nazi aspect, the Nazis had a lot of, they were, what would you say, absorbed, because they were defeated by the Allies, and then they were absorbed into, basically the Allies took who they wanted to use for their own purposes, instead of imprisoning them or killing them off, you know. And so that element came into certain governments of our time. There's a lot of documentaries online showing that Operation Paperclip, where the U.S. military powers absorbed some of them, and the CIA and all that, and the Bush family had close ties with them, and so there's definitely that influence in there. The eagle's wings, of course, is the States, but the leopard, I believe, is the Nazis. So what's another interesting thing is with, you know, if it is as extensive as some of the documentaries say, that the Nazi people were absorbed, or powers, I guess, were absorbed into the U.S. Military industrial complex, right? Then it makes sense, because the leopard had 4 heads and 4 wings, okay? So the 4 heads match up with the let's see, what's it called? The 4 heads of state right now that the U.S. uses, which is the President, Vice President, the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. And then with the 4 wings, we kind of got to compare it to the eagle's wings, because that's where we see the wings pop up in the whole prophecy. First of all, if you go back to England, and the eagle's wings were plucked. Okay? It's commonly known in history that the Wright brothers were the first people who flew a plane. Well, the design for a plane first came from Britain, from Englishmen. I can't remember their names, but if you go on encyclopedias and stuff, you can find it. And so, and then the Wright brothers got the credit. So it's like they plucked the wings off of England and they claimed it for themselves, in the States. Now, if you maintain the eagle's wings thing, the U.S. military has a plane called Eagle F-16, I think it is. But that's a Tomcat. F-15, I think, is the Eagle. Yeah, so, or look up whatever model. I'm not sure. I'm not into that stuff. But one of them's an Eagle. Anyway, another thing to throw in, the Nazis had the Panther tanks. They call them Panzers or whatever. Panther is a leopard, by the way. Scientifically, a panther and a leopard is the same species. So, it's just another name for it. So that matches up pretty good, too. And then the Navy had let's see if I remember this right. The Navy had a Panther aircraft, fighter aircraft, I think it was. So little shadows of prophecy there. Then we have what I was getting at, the the 4 wings. That's right. And then the U.S., of course, the military-industrial complex, to be specific, has a lot of use. They use the 4 military branches of the U.S., and that is the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Marines. Air superiority is a big deal, so I think that's a big deal there. And the Leopard having a lot of speed of attack. As U.S. right now, the U.S. military-industrial complex has the fastest known military capabilities than any other country. So it matches up pretty good. Then you go into the United Nations and the 4th beast, how that lines up. It says the 4th beast had a mouth of a lion, feet like a bear, and was like a leopard. And it stamped the residue with its feet, and of course it has the feet of the bear. And then it talks about it devoured the whole earth. Okay, so if you look at those aspects and you look at the United Nations, it matches up because it has the mouth of a lion, the lion being England. The official language of the United Nations is English. Okay, there's that match. Then it says it has the feet of a bear, and that's kind of in question right now. I don't think that's played out yet. My hunch is that the feet is what it stamps the residue with. So whatever didn't come along with it, it stamps it out. And Russia, of course, has there's a lot of rumors that and evidence, I guess, too. They have a very strong military, and a lot of men in their military, and they have a strong ally in China in the fact that they have a lot of manpower. So, and then manpower, you send manpower on the ground, right? And they go by foot, right? So that's interesting too. And they have some socialist type of background. So that matches for the feet, if it plays out too. And then with the like a leopard, this is pretty easy, because that is if it's true that the U.S. has been overtaken by the Nazi element in the government, and that it stayed in there and it's grown itself in there, because the United Nations is like the United States on a global level. The United States of America are states in America that are united into a nation. The United Nations are a group of global nations united into a nation. So It's like a leopard. And then it talks about devouring the whole earth. The only global government in sight at the moment is the United Nations, or I should say the strongest that is in effect right now is the United Nations. And then we can go into the heads and the horns. What I think I'll do is stop this video and do a second video on that part, because I want to keep these videos short. I know a lot of people watch them on the little devices that can't take a whole lot of minutes, so I'll get back to you.